Desolation of Smaug. I will start by saying that by any objective measure, this is a better film than the last one. It is better pacing, things don't feel as superfluous to the story. The whole thing flows much better, even though it's almost 3 hours long. It's miles better in the villain department. Pretty much all of the major things that people were complaining about with the first one have been addressed and corrected. Except for my major complaint about the last one, that has gotten worse. When I talked about An Unexpected Journey, I said how it didn't really feel like Bilbo's story as much as it should have been. He felt marginalized by all the extra stuff added in. But it started with him. He had enough sections where the focus was very clearly him. This time, it doesn't feel like his movie at all. In fact, if I hadn't read the book, and if The Hobbit was not part of the title, I would never assume that Bilbo is supposed to be the main character. I would assume it's supposed to be Thorin, or at best that this is an ensemble piece. Bilbo comes across as a particularly useful sidekick, not the main character. And what's even more infuriating about this is that the few times that it does truly focus on Bilbo is when the film is at its best. Martin Freeman is so good in this part, and he brings a lightness to it that is otherwise lacking. You need to understand that when it comes to the books, the whole tone of the thing is fundamentally different. It's a lighter adventure. It's more fun. The Lord of the Rings is a war story, effectively, and it's much heavier. It's much darker. The stakes are much bigger, and that's fine. The problem is they're making The Hobbit with the tone that they used for The Lord of the Rings. I went to the movies wanting The Hobbit, a prequel to The Lord of the Rings. What I got was The Hobbit, a prequel to The Lord of the Rings! These movies are very clearly trying to recapture The Lord of the Rings, the feel of them, the look of them, everything. Now here's the thing, it's okay for this to feel like a different movie. Marvel's got their head around that. Thor, Iron Man, Captain America, they're all sharing the same cinematic universe, but each of the individual franchises feels fundamentally different from the others. That's how it should have been with this. And as I said, Martin Freeman really does bring this wonderful lightness to the point that it's almost like he's in a different movie. When he's the center, even when his life's in jeopardy, you just get this feeling like we're on a fun adventure and it's all gonna be all right. But then the minute the focus goes off of him and we deal with all of the dwarves or the politics going on in Lake Town or we deal with the oncoming necromancer, suddenly it's not a fun little adventure that's all gonna be all right. Now it's a building to war movie. It's not what the feel of the book was. And I want to be clear, 9 times out of the 10, you're better off changing it for the movie. I think if you make the movie exactly as what was written in the book, there's no point. But you have to stay true to what the core of that original source material was, and they're not doing that with these movies. The core of what these movies should have been is in the heart of those moments with Martin Freeman, when he's fighting the spiders on his own, or even better, when he breaks through the canopy in Mirkwood, when he's alone talking with Smaug and trying to get the dragon to just keep talking so he can keep himself alive. It makes you go, this is nice. But these are fleeting moments at best. Unexpected Journey, I was a little annoyed. This time, honestly, I'm pissed off. In hindsight, this whole thing was doomed to go this way because they wanted to recapture Lord of the Rings. They didn't really want to tell the story of The Hobbit. If they wanted to tell the story of The Hobbit, they wouldn't have been injecting all this stuff that wasn't there originally, like Legolas. Look, I'm fine with putting Legolas in there as a bit of fan service. Give him a little bit of a fight scene so you can remind everybody what a badass he is. You have him stand beside the Woodland King, and then you call it a day. There's no story reason for him to be showing up in Lake Town. In Lake Town? The minute he showed up there, it went from being decent fan service to being purely masturbatory. Look, I know it seems like I'm just crapping all over the whole thing. There are decent points. The acting is still good. The special effects, honestly, I think are a bit better this time than they were the last time, although CGI is still overused. Smaug himself, really well realized, and actually probably the highlight secondary to Martin Freeman. But that does bring me to one other big thing, the ending. The point at which they chose to cut it off and start the next movie. Are you kidding me? Look, I know it's become a trend to take a single story and break it into multiple parts, especially if you're adapting it from a book, but I can't remember any other story that had this much of a harsh cutoff to be continued ... feel of it since the Matrix sequels. I'm gonna be honest, I've given up hope. I'm really not looking forward to There and Back again anymore. I'll still go see it. I feel an obligation to see it, but I'm not looking forward to it because it's not The Hobbit, and it becomes less The Hobbit with each installment. So on that frustrated note, this Council of Geeks is adjourned.